Well, hello and welcome to another story and another video in my One Company, One Story series. This time, Canoo, GOEV. Okay, gotta clear my throat because here comes the amateur legalese. I began investing in companies and their stocks in the late 70s, but I am not a certified investment professional. My style and history of investing is described in Dream, Invest, Live, a book I wrote by request, which came out as the Great Recession began. Don't underestimate luck. Um, and after that, I've been running a personal finance blog, which is about my finances after the book came out, which has been a heck of a story. But I am not an investment professional. This is not financial advice. It just happens to be something I like companies. I like what folks are trying to do with companies, so I follow some. So Canoo, I don't know how they pronounce it, but I'm going to say it's like the boat Canoo. Apologize if it is otherwise. Canoo is yet another electric car manufacturer. Each has some way to make themselves unique. There are enough companies holding and building EVs. It's simply building an electric vehicle isn't enough. The frugal, practical engineer in me appreciates their approach, which seems to target function over form. Hallelujah. Whether it works or not is whether it works is more important than how it looks. As somebody quoted on Wikipedia, Canoo makes pod-shaped vans it calls lifestyle vehicles. Well, that's an understandable pod. Pod shape may not be the design goal, but a quick look at their product line shows a tendency to being rounded off bricks, and that's a good thing. Bricks are very volume efficient. Aerodynamically, they may not be as attractive. They do have some curves on some of the lines, and then they have some obviously not curves. But in the real world, sleek silhouettes don't always benefit as much as their test numbers can suggest. The way a vehicle is really used, they get dirty. A smooth shape can have disturbances at the edges of structural panels. Aerodynamics is important on the interstates between cities, but in traffic and amongst buildings is where a lot of driving happens. So if you've got an urban vehicle or just a suburban vehicle that's going to get stuck in stop and go traffic, the aerodynamics don't make as much of a difference. Fitting in, as in fitting into car spaces and parking spaces and loading docks, can be more important. And being electric can mean not wasting fuel while waiting to finally go in stop and go traffic. I mean, great, you've got much better gas mileage as long as you're out on the open road, but how much are you spending while you wait the light at the end of uh, the main street trying to get to that interstate? One characteristic that EVs can have, which is a benefit for them, is a basic platform. And that's kind of what they got over here on the right. The drivetrain and batteries can fit into a platform, and then various chassis can be integrated on top of that. It's harder to do with gas-powered vehicles because they have engines, cooling systems, fuel systems, exhaust pipes, and generally a lot of hardware that has to snake around the passenger and cargo compartment. And that limits your options as far as the designer goes. Their website profiles the platform, and then something that's kind of like a minivan, which has got at least curvy lines here. Something that's more like they're saying it's a delivery van, but I'm also noticing that it's more like a contractor's truck in some regards. Some of the images I've seen online have shown how to access tools and cargo and that sort of thing. And then, of course, there's pickup truck. If you talk about cargo, it's a small bed. I don't know if they have a large bed version, but a utility vehicle, a true utility vehicle, really is what a pickup truck is. It just doesn't have the sport part of it. So they've got those, and I like to say this is like a pickup because a lot of American pickups have grown from being functional and small and really useful to a pumped up form where the size of the bed may not have changed, but the size of the hood has definitely risen. These things have gotten quite big. I mean, some of them really need it because construction sites can be very bumpy and things like that. But also some of it doesn't seem to. We were building buildings before they got that big. I'll put it that way. And of course, the other thing that I found, I used to have a large pickup truck, was that country roads look great in the car ads when you've got a truck busting along a dirt road. but a lot of those dirt roads are hard to turn around in, and they may not have a place to turn around at the end unless you do a 16-point turn. So small has its advantages. You need a big one, well, there still will be big ones. So they have some innovation in a growing market, and they're aimed at market others may be passing over because, again, they're just thinking practical and pragmatic. Let's get some color into this. See how long it takes for that page to come up. I found their website slow to load. Um, but they're a startup, and so they have some innovation in a growing market. There's the color. And they're aimed at markets others may pass over or may not emphasize to the same extent. But they do have, let's see, we've got supposedly 4,500 vehicles for Walmart, 3,000 for another one, 9,300 for another one. These may not be the kinds of numbers that a major car manufacturer, or established car manufacturer, may have, but still, that might, well, that's a good sign of confidence in the folks who are buying them. So they have innovation, they have thousands of orders. What could go wrong? Well, they're a startup, which always involves risks. EVs are still relatively new, which means there are unknowns to get the know. That's even without going autonomous and all those sorts of things. Batteries use materials that may have limited availability. I don't know the chemistry of the batteries that they're using, but I know that's been an issue for other electric vehicles and component manufacturers of all types that are relying on batteries. And of all things, they're may be looking for an overlooked niche, but they're also in an industry that has competitors like Ford. And can they establish a niche and become profitable without having to sell out to Ford or be outcompeted by mega corporations and things like that? Well, one measure of all that, and as much as I don't talk about the stocks predominantly, the stock is still a measure of what some other folks think, especially folks who are willing to put up money. The investment market seems uncertain about GOEV. Canoo has lots of news and milestones on 2023's calendar, but there was a spike back at the end of 2020. And let's see where we go. Thank you, Google Finance, for being publicly available. But the stock was over $20, and now it's at 66 cents. It might be that there are things that, cash burn happens. And that's the other race startups can have. Can the money start coming in before too much goes out? It's a simple thing, and it's a very complex issue, and it varies for every single company. However, the pessimist will say they're going to keep going down. The optimist says this is when they go up. And you are getting to be responsible for your money. I know that I don't have a whole lot of excess cash right now, but I find it as attractive. I sometimes worry about companies where the volume is down around, like I said, $17 million on trading volume for a day. And I could go in there and try and buy 100 shares and find that I move the stock price. I'll deal with that. And if I do buy some of it, I'll probably post it on my website. I usually do. So anyway, again, this is Tom Trimbath. I'm the author of Dream, Invest, Live. I gave it the subtitle of Pioneer the Investment Frontier so you can live your dream, but I really should have called it Personal Finance for Frugal Folk. Maybe if I come up with a sequel, I'll be doing that. But in the meantime, I hope this has been useful. And if nothing else, I don't know what's going to happen to the company, but I hope they survive and thrive, and I'll be watching. Thanks for being there. It's nice having you along.